It's time for another huge full-time Devils debate then, and you wanted us to talk about transfers, so that's what we're going to do. This was requested by Liam Crisp and loads more of you guys in the comment section below on something you wanted us to talk about. So to save arguments on transfer fees and things like that, we've given every single one of these people £250 hypothetical million to spend, transferred it into euros, so it's around 300 million euros, and use the values of players from transfermarket.com. Just going to save all the arguments in it. So today we're going to talk about your star signing. If you could sign anyone in the world, who would it be? We're going to be talking about a realistic signing that all these guys would want to make as well. And we're going to be talking about what you'd spend the rest of the money on. Who else would you bring in to the Manchester United squad? So let's start with Howson. Howson, who would be your star signing? An unrealistic one, but I'll tell you all this. It can't be Messi, right? No Messi in this. Go.
Messi couldn't do it in the Prem. I'm going to go with a guy that I think's semi-realistic, not completely bananas out there signing. Now, he's a guy that I think United commercial department will love. He's massive on social media. I think he's the biggest player on social media, actually, which will shock you, I think. It's a Real Madrid player, and it's not Cristiano Ronaldo.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's James Rodriguez, James Rodriguez, as he's known in England. And I think he's the sort of player that could add a bit of sparkle to our attack. He's the sort of player that I definitely think is available. I think he's the sort of player that I think Woodward on the board would go for. According to Transfer Market, he's worth 80 million euros. It's probably about 60 million quid.
Yeah, so makes sense.
That's a player I'd like to see us go for. I think he can play on that right-hand side of the three, and that's where I'd like to see him play. And obviously, scored a wonderful goal in the World Cup. He's not really done it at Real Madrid because of all the competition for places, but he'd walk into the United team at the moment.
That goal in the World Cup, I was there at the Maracanã, watched him score that against Uruguay. World Cup round of 16, just had to squeeze that in there because I love showing off about it. Joannes, big thanks for joining us all the way from Mumbai. Who would your star signing for Man United be this summer?
My star signing for United would be Antonio Griezmann from Atletico Madrid. He's been a brilliant player for them. He has it all in him. He can run with the ball, without the ball. He's good with it. And I feel we should go for Griezmann.
Yeah, it'd be good to play on the wing as well. I mean, he's a player who can play on the wing and play up front. He's got a lot of pace about him. He can beat a man, and we know he can score. Yeah, he'd fit in the Manchester United team really well. Greg from Squawka. Greg, who would your star signing be for Man United this summer?
My star signing would be big guy from Bayern Munich, Robert Lewandowski. He's got 25 goals in 27 Bundesliga games, 11 goals last season for his country in 7 games. Overall, he scored 61 goals in 90 games in all competitions for Bayern Munich since he came. And he's just a straight striker capable of destroying teams, changing games. He had that game at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid for Dortmund where he just destroyed them. Against Wolfsburg last season for Bayern, he scored 5 in 9 minutes. And he's also attended 71 take-ons in 27 league games this season. He's exactly the kind of player that Van Persie could have been if we got him earlier. I think if we got him into United, we'd have him for 5-6 years. He'd be the best striker in the world.
I agree that he's absolutely class, and I did ask for an unrealistic signing, and there is absolutely not a cat in hell's chance of that one ever happening. Not in the next 3 years, though. Anyway,
70 million though, according to the transfer market. So we can afford that.
How much is he, Greg?
70 million apparently, according to transfer market.
Hey, I tell you what, couple more noodle sponsors, we can sign him easy. Matt, who is your most unrealistic star signing? Who's the man that you want to see come to United?
Mine's Paul Pogba. He's 65 million euros. I feel that with Carrick coming towards the end of his career, I still think he's got a place in the squad, but there's the likelihood of Fellaini going out as well. We need another central midfielder, and I think he would work really well with Schneiderlin, Pereira, Mata, the midfielders that we've got already. I think he'd be a perfect signing.
I agree. Paul Pogba, probably one of the best players in the world right now. Best centre midfielder in the world, maybe?
If he's not the best centre midfielder in the world, he's definitely in the argument for being one. Wonderful footballer.
Definitely. Right, let's talk about realistic signings then. Players that you could actually see come into Manchester United in the summer. Howson, who's your realistic target?
Well, my realistic target, and there's probably some people who say that we'd never be able to get him because they're above us in the table. I don't think that makes the slightest bit of difference. United are still a huge draw compared to the team that he's currently at, and I don't think he's a flash-in-the-pan player, which he's been accused of. For the last 2 or 3 seasons, this player's had the level of ability that he's showing this season, but he's not really had the team around him to do what he's done this season, and that's Riyad Mahrez.
Yes.
He's done what he's done this season in previous seasons. It's just this season he's increased how many assists he's got, he's increased how many goals he's got, because the team around him has improved and developed as well. And I think if you get him to a big club like Manchester United, people are going to start talking about that kid being world class. And he's not, I say kid, but he's younger than me, but he's not a young player. He's a player in his mid-20s. He's a player that's ready to do it right now. He's Premier League proven. I think he'd be relatively cheap because I think we'd be able to prize him out and almost bully Leicester into letting us have him, I think, which is the wrong way to go about business, but I think that's what we'd be able to do.
Player of the season in the Premier League this year for me. Matt, who would your realistic signing be?
Romelu Lukaku. I think we're needing another striker, and I think he could work really, really well with Anthony Martial. I think he's strong, he's pretty fast as well, and he'd just be able to be a bully in the box. And the scary thing is that he's only 22. That's my age, and when you look at him compared to me, I'm just this scrawny little kid stood next to him. But yeah, he's only 35 million euros, and I think he'd be a brilliant signing.
Greg, what about you? Who could you actually see coming into Manchester United this summer? Who do you want?
Well, I've got 2 names down for this, but there's a reason. John Stones or Romelu Lukaku. Lukaku, if you can't get Lewandowski, I think Lukaku's just the next best, most realistic guy to get instead of him. But I've got to do a massive shout out for John Stones. He is the most cultured English defender of his generation. He's just an incredible player. Some people, he's not to everyone's taste, he takes risks, people say, but I just think as a footballer, he is absolutely incredible. And if we get him in now and put him in a team good enough, deserving of his talent, we could bring out his strengths rather than undermine his ability to play out from the back, which I think is what happens with Everton. Look at the amount of defensive errors they make as a team. United would be much more solid. They bring the best out in John Stones.
Greg, I completely agree with you, and I really rate John Stones, and I got wrecked in the comments last time I said we should sign him. Howson's already shaking his head at it, but we've got no time to hear your daft opinions. Let's go on to Jonas. Jonas, who's your realistic signing that you want to see come to Manchester United this summer?
I agree with Matt and Greg, and yeah, that would be Romelu Lukaku, the guy who was in Blind's pocket for the Everton game.
Yes.
I definitely love to see him at Old Trafford. He's built for the Premier League. He's banged goals in for West Brom, and he's doing it now for Everton. So I don't see why he wouldn't score for United, and it'd be a tasty partnership up there with Anthony Martial.
He seems like he ticks every single box, Lukaku. He's fast, he's strong, he's Premier League proven, and he's still so very young. So yeah, Lukaku is a name that I would definitely get on board with. Now, you've all got a little bit of money left over to spend, Howson included. Howson, how would you spend that money then if you were Ed Woodward?
Well, I think the prices on the transfer market website are a little bit skewed, a little bit on the cheap side. So,
tiny bit.
So I think I'm gonna spend a little bit more of the money, but then I'm gonna look to build an academy stadium because we're not going to sign 4 superstars like this and keep spending. We'd be very lucky to get 4 superstars in. So my first 2, they come to 100 million. The second 2 also come to 100 million. And it's 2 names that you guys have already mentioned. It's Paul Pogba at 65 million for the reasons already mentioned. And it's Lukaku for the reasons also mentioned. And I think we need a defender as well. But I'll leave that to Matt because I know Matt's got a great shout for a defender.
Matt, who's your defender? Tell me about how you'd spend the rest of this money.
My defender is Howarders at Schalke because I think we're lacking experience in the defence, and he's 28 years old. He's only 18 million according to this website. He's a World Cup winner, and I think he wouldn't necessarily be a starter every week, but he could bring in so much experience to the back. And I think if we are going to push on and win titles, Daley Blind's had a fantastic season, but I don't know how he might compare in the latter stages of the Champions League. I've got another player, which is a bit of a wild card, in Wijnaldum. Well, if we get there. But I've got another wild card, which is Wijnaldum at Newcastle. Likelihood is that they're probably going to get relegated. I've actually been quite impressed with him this season. In certain matches, he looks like quite a good, creative, aggressive player in the midfield, and I think that would be another good signing for us. And he's only 20 million. And I also went for Mahrez, and then I also threw in Harry Kane.
Oh, wow. pushing the boat out there.
You know what, I was going to say it was really good picks until he said Harry Kane. You got Lukaku and Harry Kane to be signed.
Yeah.
Who cares, mate? Harry Kane, Lukaku, Marshall, Rooney. We'll win the lot.
Berbatov all over again.
We'll win the lot. Who cares? Jonas, who would you spend the rest of your money on?
What we're lacking currently in the defense is a leader. After Rio and Vidic going, we haven't had a leader. So the guy who ticks my box would be Mats Hummels from Dortmund.
Yeah.
He has it all. He's smart, World Cup winner as well. So Matt Hummels for me.
The only thing I worry about with Hummels is his pace.
Yeah, his
That's
pace.
That's the only thing. He's got every single other thing going for him. Experience, leadership. He can play from the back. His tackling and marking's fantastic, but it's just his pace worries me a little bit.
Greg, how would you spend the rest of your money?
Well, like the guys, I wasn't entirely convinced by all the transfer market's valuations. But I've got €300 million to spend. So if you add my star and my realistic, which is Lewandowski and or John Stones or Lukaku, that brings you up to about €120 million, whatever you want to call it. So I've planned it all out from there. I've got 7 more players to come in. First one is N'Golo Kante. He's got the most interceptions, most tackles in the Premier League this season of any player. He's been the driving force for Leicester. He covers so much ground in the middle. It's like having 2 players. So you can stick some more people on the wing or in attack. He's that good. I think he's only 25 as well, so there's plenty of time left.
I was going to ask you, how old is he? So he's only 25, so he's got a lot more years left in him.
Plenty more years to go. My big worry at the moment in terms of the squad after the rebuild in the summer, Matteo Darmian hasn't quite proven to be the first choice right back we all thought he might be, but he's shown his versatility. So I reckon we get in a right back, either Serge Aurier, who's unsettled at PSG, Mario Gaspar or Pereira, or Fabinho at Monaco. They're all really good players. Pereira would learn a lot from them, and you can pick them up for 20 million about according to transfer markets. That's where the 20 being gone. I agree with the idea of poaching, salvaging what we can from the relegated teams as well. And at Aston Villa, Adama Traore is a fantastic talent. He's ex-Barcelona. He doesn't deserve to be in the Championship. We should poach him. We should bring him through to become the next great United winger. He's got that potential. He's a fantastic player. According to transfer market, €8 million, absolute steal. Jose Perez at Newcastle. I've been really impressed with him. He could be a great backup and competition to Rashford. Really interesting striker, very technical, very clever. Scores goals. He's quite good at the big moments as well, so we'll have him. Another Premier League player, Sadio Mane. I think he would instantly upgrade our right flank. Swap him in for Lingard. He's so quick, he's so clever. His take-ons are incredible this season. He's played 31 Premier League games and attempted 114 dribbles. I mean, he's an absolute danger. You need to stick 2 men on him again, frees up space elsewhere. Then in midfield, we're going to go with Bazoer at Ajax. He's the perfect long-term replacement for Schweinsteiger. He's 19. He's always the foundation of Netherlands and Ajax. He's everything you could want in a deep line midfielder. And again, he's great with the dribbles, great with the passing. He's got the kind of dribbling statistics that Yaya Toure has when he's in his peak in the Premier League. He takes the ball past players from deep positions, and that can be so dangerous. And my final player, a final one, we need a defender. I'm going to go with Samuel Umtiti. He's at Lyon. Could be the most underrated, overlooked defender in Europe, going by what my colleague at Squawker, Pete Starlin, said. He's a League One expert. I'm not 100% into watching it, but from what I've seen of him, he's got it all. He's 22. He averages 9 defensive actions per game, wins 72% of his headers, 54% of his tackles. He's good on the ball as well, 74% of his dribbles, and he's got a pass accuracy of 86%. He could be the enforcer at the back alongside Stones, alongside Smalling, whoever we get. And that leaves me with 44 million, and I'm going to spend that on getting more Fossey Mensahs, because he keeps getting players like him. Well, you know, how much will Fossey Mensah cost in the transfer market now? I mean, Renato Sanchez, 47 million. Fossey Mensah is
either $1 million or $1.5 million for him.
Absolutely brilliant player.
I was just going to say to you, apart from Lewandowski, everybody you've signed there's a potential, isn't there? There's hardly any finished articles there.
Well, I think you got Kante. I think he could do a lot in the middle. I think Mane's pretty proven in the Premier League now. Aurier, Gaspar and Fabinho, they're all pretty experienced right backs in top level teams across Europe. So I'm definitely building for the future, because that's kind of what I like to see in the United team. But there are some players in positions we need to give a bit of experience, like in midfield, in attack, and in defence, which I think, you know, it reinforces while also giving us more option in the future. But yeah, it is definitely potentials there, definitely.
I just feel like I've been overloaded with football knowledge there, that my brain is just like about to explode because I've not heard of half
Gave me
those
300
players.
million, I had to use it.
I'll be quite honest, I've not heard of half of them. But guys, it is now time for me. That's right, I get the decision of who wins and who has built the best squad out of the players so far. So Howson, list me your players who you've picked.
James Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Because obviously James Wilson's the only James. It's
Obviously.
James Rodriguez. Was my star. Riyad Mahrez was my realistic. And then I've gone for Pogba and Lukaku. But I am also putting my hat on Hawidis like Matt, because I think he's a wonderful centre-half.
You don't get Hawidis, that's Matt's shout. Matt, who are your shouts?
Pogba is unrealistic. I've got Lukaku. There's Mahrez, Wijnaldum, and I might throw away the Kane suggestion there.
You know what? I really like Matt's picks there. Jonas, who did you have?
I have Griezmann,
Yeah.
Busquets, or Cruz. Cruz wants out of Real Madrid, so that looks more likely. Lukaku and Hummels in defense.
Brilliant. And Greg?
I've got 9 in total. So you got Lewandowski as my star. You got Stones. Let's say Stones from realistics. No one else has gone for him. Kante, Serge Aurier, Adama Traore, Sadio Mane, Jose Perez, Bazoa, Ajax, and Samuel Umtiti.
Greg has signed the whole of the footballing world there.
Get a new squad, yeah.
I think the only person who didn't sign was Hulk.
So purely because I've not heard of that many of the players that Greg listed, I think I'm going to give it to, it's either you or Matt, and you both made very similar suggestions, but I like the idea of James Rodriguez in the Premier League.
With Hawidis.
I like the idea of James Rodriguez in the Premier League, so I'm going to go with Howson as the winner of this one. I think he's built the best squad, but I think it's
for the academy.
and we've got a new academy stadium with Howson as well. But
Duncan Edwards Bowl.
I do think that if any of those were to happen, they would propel us to winning the Premier League, I think. But let's face it, we're probably just going to get a couple new noodle and tyre sponsors and probably a new chewing gum sponsor for the side of the shirt as well. But guys, get your comments in below anyway. Tell me about who you think we should be signing this summer. There has been a load of names that have been thrown out there. I'm just off to go and watch a YouTube compilation of half the players that Greg's just mentioned there, because I've not heard of any of them. But guys, get your comments in. Tell us about him. Give this a like. Give this a share. Give us a subscribe. I've been Gaz. That's Howson. In at bits.
Hello, welcome back. It's that time again. It's the second full-time review ever where we discuss everything in the world of Manchester United post-game.